Almoghraby joins me now. Zein, rather, Almoghraby joins me now. He's the Director of Programs for Journalists for Human Rights. He is in Gaziantep in Turkey, one of the areas we understand that has been hit very, very hard. Can you give us a sense of what the situation is like where you are right now?
Thank you. So far, the whole situation has been, for the past, I think it's over 8 hours now. It's been surreal in the city. The situation for people, I think, mainly is the most traumatizing part about it is the uncertainty, because with the earthquake, there was a follow-up and there's shock waves, but also there's rumors now that are spreading across social media about the next wave and when is the next earthquake and what timing, etc., etc. So that is creating more of a chaotic situation. But so far, I can say that order is under control, and hopefully it would remain like that because it doesn't require extra kind of difficult situation right now. It's already very difficult for people.
Indeed. Can you describe to us when the earthquake hit, where you were, what your situation was, what you were feeling?
Yeah, I can give you my personal experience right now. I was in my hotel, and in the middle of the night or early morning hours, all of a sudden everything was shaking, and there's nothing that was informing people about what's going on. So all you were hearing just children yelling and shouting and crying, people running down the stairs. It took some time to get out of there. And even when it came to the shock waves that followed the earthquake, it was a bit difficult to know what to do now. And at the end of it, about after 1 p.m., when the second earthquake happened, which was much shorter and not as damaging, I was asked to leave the hotel. And basically, I was on the streets till I managed to get to one of our Syrian media partners to host me in their studio. And here where I am right now. And looking at the studio around me, there is a lot of destruction that happened to really expensive equipment that they struggle to bring together to do their job. So it's so far still processing what's going on and what is the actual damage, because it's beyond material and beyond what we can process at the moment, because there are other consequences that going to impact the day-to-day living circumstances and conditions, because everything is shut down. There's no access, not enough access to food right now. Gas stations are the only thing that is still running. There's long lines there because people are trying to get as much fuel as possible. As when you have to leave your house or your place, you have to go to a vehicle. And this is the only source for heat right now because it was snowing for the past 2 days and it started raining last night. So it's cold, wet outside. So no other option but stay in a vehicle.
Stay in the vehicle. And as you say, I mean, people want to get out of buildings because of the concern of could there be any further aftershocks after these two massive earthquakes? The first one, of course, more damaging than the second one, as you point out. When you were able to finally get out of your hotel room, and then, of course, you're there out on the street now trying to find some shelter somewhere where you can get safe. What was the scene like there? We know, of course, rescue crews, were out trying to access and do what they can in the most delicate manner that they possibly can. But, I mean, you must have been in shock when you saw what the aftermath was.
Yeah. And there's like something, I don't want to say a positive thing, but there's some dependency on the people's solidarity, the social structure that exists. So people who are living in 10th floor above or something like that, they're not allowed to stay there. So they're going to their families, to their friends. That's helping a lot. But when you are on the streets, you are practically witnessing an introduction to what the end of times would look like, because there's nothing functioning in an actual sense. And you're walking, you're seeing people who are wrapping like blankets around them. And then I saw two young girls who had like they were bleeding from the heads, because it's not just about the building to collapse. All it takes is for a couple of items just to fall from somewhere, and they would do some serious damage to people. And kept on walking, and literally there's nothing that made sense, except for the fact that order is still in place, which is really good. But traffic was not following order, which is it's not a great sign if this thing continues. It's not a great sign if rumors are going to take place and dominate the public narrative, because that would be a threat for the official efforts that they're doing a good job so far, from what I can tell. But there's a lot to be done, and the coming days are going to be the actual challenge.
Indeed, and we know that there's, of course, calls for help now, and the international community is responding, as, of course, they're trying to sort of gather whatever supplies and whatnot that's needed to help. What would you say right now is needed the most? And we're showing our viewers, as much footage as we've been able to gather of certain areas where there's rescue efforts that are taking place. But as you point out, there's nothing. There's no heat, there's no water, there's no food, as you mentioned there. Some of the gas stations are working, but people are sort of left to their own devices. What would you say is needed the most right now, Zein?
Right now, everything that is logistical at this point is very critical, but mainly also not to forget that this earthquake also hit Syria, northern Syrian parts, and those areas are unlike Turkey. What I'm at right now is very developed country, developed cities, and the government is efficient and they can deliver. They just need the logistical support that they need at the moment. But the northern Syria, which is accessible from here, there's nothing. Infrastructure does not exist anymore. The country, or that part, has been going through a war for the past 10 years, and it's very critical and important to take that into consideration and to include it in any kind of support and efforts to ease or to relieve or to do anything about what's going on, and not to separate it and consider it a completely different situation, because it is very relevant. It is more damaged, actually. And again, because it's way more underdeveloped and the infrastructure there, like, I can't say it's not okay or not good. It doesn't exist at this point. So efforts should be focused on southern Turkey and also northern Syria, where the opposition functions, at least, because there is neighborhoods, complete neighborhoods that don't exist no more, and people are still under the collapsed buildings there.
They are indeed. Zein, thank you so much for giving us your time. We're happy that you are safe. And we wish, of course, everybody there safety as well. We're following the story very closely. Zein Almoghraby is the Director of Programs, Journalist for Human Rights. Thank you so much again for this. Please